Welcome in, everybody. So good to be in this space with you. This week, we are going to be discussing self abandonment and how that relates to the external world. So, for so long, I was attracted to potential. I was attracted to chemistry. I was attracted to emotional inconsistency and people who felt familiar. A lot of these patterns mirrored the relationships that I had in childhood. So, the reason that I was attracted to these types of relationships was because I was treating myself in a very similar way. And that's what I want you to understand today. It's not always about changing what we're attracted to, it's about changing our relationship with self, which in turn naturally changes what we're attracted to. Because when we change our resonance and our frequency, then the external world reflects that back to us. It must and it will and it must. It is a law of the universe. So, at some point, I had to get real with myself. I had to stop playing the victim, right? I had to stop blaming the mirror and realize that it was my responsibility to change self and receive a different reflection from that mirror. So, I want to get into what self abandonment actually looks like. And I'm going to talk about the 5 different areas of life where it shows up most prominently. And then I'm going to talk about how we shift those patterns so that we can attract what we truly desire. Okay. Instead of what's comfortable, familiar, and same, we're going to shift our vibration and then attract our highest potential, right? Because that's what we really want to do is um, receive what we desire. So let's see. Mm-mm-mm. What does emotionally unavailable to self look like? So I'm just going to go on a brief overview and then we'll dive into those 5 areas. So, not listening to your intuition, ignoring your own needs, okay, abandoning your boundaries, prioritizing other people's feelings over our own, staying in fantasy instead of reality, right? That's that limerence that we talk about in psychology. Falling in love with potential and seeking validation instead of compatibility. These are all ways that we abandon self that we're not even realizing we're doing. Okay. The unavailable partner isn't creating the wound, they're exposing the wound. So, as you'll hear me say all the time, it is a gift. The mirror is a gift because how else would we know where our vibration is at and what our frequency is if we didn't have a matching reality, if we couldn't see it plain as day externally? So it is a gift, right? We really need to lean into that truth. Instead of attacking the mirror, be grateful for the mirror. Be grateful for it. So, when I realized that these external partners were actually reflecting my inability to set boundaries and my inability to recognize my needs. And when I explained away red flags and chose fantasy over reality, what I was really doing was abandoning myself. And in abandoning myself, that other person, the mirror, has no choice but to abandon us as well because they are a reflection, simply a reflection. It is not personal. They cannot show up in any other way until we change our own internal world first, right? And the 5 ways that I really want to highlight this abandonment are physical, mental, emotional, spiritual, and financial, because these are 5 core areas of life that we really need to focus on if we want to change the mirror, if we want to start attracting what we really desire. So, we'll start with the physical self abandonment. Okay, this looks like ignoring our body's signals, staying exhausted, not getting enough sleep, overeating or undereating, living off caffeine, not moving our bodies, ignoring chronic symptoms, and delaying doctor's appointments. Okay, these are all ways that we physically abandon ourself, and it's not our fault. Most of the time it was learned behaviors. We generally treat ourselves the way that our parents treated us. Okay, we learn how to show up for self in the ways that other people showed up or didn't show up for us. So um, our bodies are always speaking to us, and self abandonment is pretending we can't hear it, ignoring it, feeling overwhelmed by it. Okay. Um, the way that that will show up in our physical reality is sickness, illness, stress, exhaustion, right? Those are all physical symptoms that we're not showing up for ourselves physically. Okay. So we can really start to heal this pattern by asking, what is my body trying to tell me? How can I better show up for my body? Do you think that we're going to attract a physically healthy partner into our life when we are lacking in that quality ourselves? Most of the time, that's going to be a no. Okay. We attract our reciprocal. So, a reciprocal of a healthy person is a healthy person. We need to show up for self first. We can start to drink more water. We can start to go for nature walks daily, schedule that doctor's appointment, go to bed earlier, mm, choose healthier foods. Small acts of care begin to rebuild self trust. An affirmation that I use frequently is, my body is worthy of my attention. I am learning to nourish myself. I honor the wisdom of my body. So, the second area of life that abandonment frequently shows up is in the mental realm. So, what does this look like? This looks like overthinking, second guessing ourselves, seeking endless reassurance, rationalizing red flags, talking ourselves out of what we know, right? These are all ways in which we are not showing up for self. If we're not showing up for self in this area of life, then we're not going to attract people who are respecting this part of us either, okay? We must respect self first, and then that is reflected back to us. So we can begin to heal this self abandonment by noticing when we're collecting evidence for things we already know. Instead of asking, what should I do? We can ask, what do I already know, right? We can use affirmations like, I trust myself. My inner wisdom is enough. I do not need permission to know what I know, right? So, maybe this part of this self-abandonment is activated when we have a feeling that a partner is cheating on us, or that our boss doesn't respect us, right? What they're actually doing is reflecting that wound back to us, and it's our responsibility to heal it. It's our responsibility to heal it. The third area of life that we frequently self abandon is emotionally. Okay. This looks like suppressing feelings, saying I'm fine, avoiding anger, avoiding grief, or prioritizing everybody else's emotions as more important than yours. This looks like not asking for what we need, not even being able to recognize what we need. And if we can't recognize what we need, how would anybody else be able to meet those needs? They simply cannot. It is not possible. We need to start showing up for ourselves first, right? And that might look like learning about all the different needs that humans have, or diving into being able to label our emotions. Maybe taking a whole month and just asking yourself every single day, what do I feel? What do I care about? What's important to me? What's showing up in my body? And really leaning into that self inquiry and showing up for our emotional body. We can begin to lean into supporting self by journaling, crying, getting angry, speaking honestly, right? Feelings are messengers, not problems. Some affirmations that I personally use are, my feelings matter. I know what I feel. I'm safe to feel. I can hold space for my emotions with compassion. I show up for myself. Because when we're not showing up for ourselves emotionally, then other people cannot show up for us emotionally. So, the fourth area that we frequently abandon ourselves is spiritual. Our spiritual self abandonment looks like ignoring intuition, seeking answers outside self, staying in misaligned situations, betraying our own inner knowing, choosing fear over truth. These are all ways in which we abandon ourselves spiritually. These are ways that we are not respecting the spiritual intelligence of our body. This can look like pulling that tarot card over and over, hoping for a different answer, or mm, counting on a friend to tell you what you should do instead of what you know is in your highest and best good. This can look like not meeting your need for purpose and growth because you're scared, because you don't want to show up for your spiritual purpose. What this can look like in reality is being stuck in a dead end job, other people questioning us when we tell them we know what's best for ourselves, feeling disconnected from our truth, from our path, right? Ways that we can create self support, self compassion, ways that we can show up for self in this area are by creating stillness, right? Giving ourselves that time by ourselves to really tap into our intuition, whether that's on a nature walk or in a hot bath, um, or whatever practices work best for you. Yoga, meditation, sit with a tree. Really start to show up for yourself in this way. Asking yourself, what would I do if I trusted myself completely? Would I start a YouTube channel? I don't know. What would you do? Because I can't tell you what your purpose is. Only you know what your purpose is. Only you can feel into that truth. And you have to give yourself that time to cultivate that trust. That's what showing up for yourself spiritually looks like. Not saving everyone else, but saving yourself, saving self. Some affirmations that you can use that I use personally are I trust my intuition, right? Start to call in that reality. My inner guidance is always available to me. I honor the truth within me. I honor the truth within me, not the truth within everybody else, but the truth within me. My truth matters. I am available for the infinite intelligence in the universe, just like everybody else. You are so special that you are tapped in to God's source. Do you understand this? You are God source, energy embodied. Act like it. Own it. Own it. And then the last way that I'm going to talk about in this video that we frequently self abandon is financially. This looks like undercharging for services, overgiving, rescuing people financially, avoiding money conversations, believing our needs are less important. And I have fell victim to this because I have high values of philanthropy and things of that nature, right? But what I've come to realize is although I don't believe the prices that I charge are a reflection of my worth, I understand that when people don't invest money, they don't invest energy and time, right? So, in order for someone to perceive value, they must invest something, okay? Otherwise, it gets disregarded as not valuable. Some ways that we can show up for ourselves are treating money as self respect made visible, tracking where our resources go, investing in self. I am my highest ROI. I am my highest return on investment that I can make. Okay. Allowing yourself to receive. When we're not showing up for ourselves financially, that can look like an empty bank account, people not valuing our work, struggling to pay our bills. If this is the reality that we are currently perceiving, then we need to step into more of the showing up for self, that self respect in financial matters, in the financial area of our life. Because when we're embodied in a sense of respect for our financial self, when we're showing up for our financial self, then that is reflected in our reality as stability, abundance, money, whatever support structures that we need. Some affirmations that we can use to really land this in our body are: my needs matter. I am worthy of support. I allow myself to receive as generously as I give. I allow myself to receive. I am worthy of receiving. I am worthy on cultivating financial health. So, like I said in the beginning, when we are attracting men who cannot show up for us, that is an indication that we are not showing up for self. Because when we're showing up for self, we have standards, we have boundaries. We are not a vibrational match to men who will abandon us. We are not on the same wavelength. So, the sooner that we stop blaming the mirror and start taking responsibility and stepping into our power, the sooner we'll get what we actually desire. Because those unavailable men, they aren't showing up to punish you. They're showing up to show you the places that you're unavailable to yourself. All the places that you're not showing up for self. Physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, financially. And the beautiful thing about that realization is that it gives you your power back. Because if you've been abandoning yourself, you can choose differently. You can choose to start showing up for yourself. One loving decision at a time. So I love you so much, and I look forward to seeing you in the next one.